Meghan's forbidden rendezvous, the palace scandal that no one saw coming. It began as a whisper, a murmur that slid through the marble corridors of Buckingham Palace like a chill wind on a winter night. At first, it sounded like another absurd piece of gossip the tabloids would fabricate to sell headlines. But this time, the whispers had a source, a grainy, time-stamped video feed from one of the palace's own surveillance, and the figure captured on that footage was unmistakable: Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex, stepping quietly into a side entrance of the palace at near. She wasn't alone. The man beside her moved with the kind of casual familiarity one does not expect from tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in an understated yet impossibly expensive suit. His face was partially obscured by the brim of a hat, but those who knew the name whispered it immediately: Alexander Fairchild, the man Meghan had once been linked to before she met a former high-profile financier turned shadowy political strategist. Fairchild had been exiled from the royal social circle years ago after a scandal involving a secret. What was he doing back inside the palace walls? And more importantly, why? The footage, according to an insider, was never meant to leave the internal palace secure. Yet somehow, it did. The video clip made its way to a handful of top-level aides and one particularly disgruntled former staffer, who recognized the dangerous implications instantly. This wasn't a chance meeting. Meghan wasn't in London for any scheduled public event. Her official calendar listed her in California, attending a charity gala. Yet here she was, in the dead of night, walking side by side with a man whose very name still sparked tension among royal advisers. From the moment they entered, the mood shifted within the palace. Guards exchanged wary glances, staff who recognized Fairchild stiffened in corridors, and a quiet chain of phone calls was made that reached the upper levels of the monarchy before. According to one source, Prince William was alerted almost immediately. His response was icy: "Handle it." No press. Not yet. But quiet was a luxury the palace had not enjoyed, especially not with Meghan involved. Multiple sources claim Meghan and Fairchild spent nearly 2 hours in a small, rarely used drawing room on the West Wing, a room historically reserved for confidential discussions between senior royals and international law. What could they have been talking about? No one inside has been willing to go on record. Off the record, however, the speculation was relentless: a covert business arrangement? Political lobbying? Or, the most scandalous theory of all, a personal reunion that would humiliate Harry B. The tension escalated when Harry himself reportedly arrived in London the following morning, unannounced. Witnesses describe him storming into the palace grounds through a private entrance, bypassing public gates, and some say he was seen speaking sharply to a senior aide, demanding to know why he hadn't been informed. Others insist he already knew, and his appearance was an attempt to control the narrative before it spun out of his. And yet, Meghan remained silent. No statements, no appearances, no denials. Fairchild vanished into the shadows as quickly as he had appeared, flying out of Heathrow under an alias less than 24 hours after. But by then, the damage was done. Royal commentators began piecing together a timeline that made the encounter even more. Fairchild had been spotted in Paris just 3 days earlier, dining with an influential media mogul whose outlets had been conspicuously gentle in their coverage of Meghan over the past. Then, an encrypted email, allegedly from Meghan's private account, was leaked, showing arrangements for a London meeting with no further. The email was dated weeks before the supposed charity gala she was meant to attend in California. Theories bloomed like wildfire. Was Meghan plotting some form of re-entry into the royal sphere through back-channel negotiations? Or was she building an alliance entirely outside the monarchy's reach, one that could undermine its influence in the UK? Inside the palace, the atmosphere reportedly became suffocating. Kate Middleton, usually composed even under the harshest public glare, was said to have been visibly shaken during a private lunch with close friends days after the news broke. One source described her as speaking in clipped sentences, her hands trembling as she knows what this could mean, the source said. If Meghan has aligned herself with Fairchild again, it's not just a personal betrayal, it's a strategic move that could tear at the very fabric of the monarchy's security and credit. By the end of the week, the clip had reached the press, though not in it. A heavily blurred still image appeared on the cover of a major British tabloid, showing two figures entering a dimly lit side. The headline screamed, "The Midnight Guest, who did Meghan bring into the..." Officially, the palace declined to comment. Unofficially, the scramble was intense. Lawyers were consulted. Old favors were called in to suppress further leaks. But the genie was already out of the bottle. The public wanted answers, and every day of silence only made the speculation more dangerous. Perhaps the most damning development came when a former royal aide, the same one who had reportedly leaked the footage, gave a cryptic interview to an American news outlet. "It wasn't a social call," the aide said. "It was planned. It was deliberate. And it was the kind of meeting that, if the full details ever came out, would make last year's scandals look like children's." As the storm grew, Harry's absence from public view only fueled the rumors. Was he refusing to be seen with Meghan until the matter blew over? Or was he negotiating privately to contain whatever was brewing behind closed doors? No matter the truth, one thing became painfully clear: the meeting between Meghan and Alexander Fairchild was not an accident, and it was not without consequence. Whether it was the spark of a deeper alliance, a calculated act of defiance, or something far more personal, the aftershocks were already rippling through the royal family's most guarded hall. And for the palace, this was a nightmare they couldn't wake from, because the question wasn't if more would be revealed.